So, what's the point of college? I mean, really, it sounds like such a simple question, doesn't it? But it's actually one of the most fiercely debated topics out there. It's something that millions of us, students, parents, you name it, are wrestling with right now. And trust me, the answer isn't as simple as you think.
So let's just ask it again. What is the point of it all? Is it just about getting a good job, or is it about, becoming a better person? Maybe it's something else entirely. To really get to the bottom of this, we're going to look at a really cool framework from the philosopher Kwame Anthony Appiah. Our story kicks off in a pretty strange place, with a demon. Now, not a literal one, mind you, but a philosophical one that popped up in a classroom in Ghana. And this little thought experiment ended up revealing this deep tension right at the very heart of higher education. Okay, so Appiah tells this story about his first ever university lecture. He's trying to explain this classic idea from Descartes, the evil demon argument. It's this idea that what if a super powerful being was just deceiving all of our senses? After the class, his students, some of whom were older than he was, actually followed him home just to ask, did he really believe this was possible? But you have to wonder, right? What was the question they weren't asking? It was probably something more like, hey, why do we have to listen to this totally bizarre idea from some French guy from the 1600s anyway? Yeah, sure, it's on the exam, but why? And that moment, right there, gets to the very core of this whole debate about what college is actually for. And this is where we get to the heart of the matter. The entire conflict really boils down to two totally different, competing visions for what a university should be. Let's call them Utility U and Utopia U. All right, let's break these down. So in one corner, you've got Utility U. This is all about the practical stuff, learning skills for a career, building up what economists call human capital, and, getting a clear return on your investment. In the other corner is Utopia U. This is all about the journey of self-discovery, exploring your values, building your soul, and figuring out how to live a good, meaningful life. So let's dive into Utility U. This is the version of college you probably hear about most often, especially from politicians when they're talking about student debt. It basically treats a degree as a purely financial investment. The only questions that matter here are, will this get me a job? How much more money will I make? How does this help the economy? It's all very practical, measurable, and totally focused on the bottom line. And then you've got Utopia U. This vision sees college as this totally unique space for what the philosopher John Stuart Mill called experiments in living. It's a time to build your character, to question the world, to figure out who you are and what you really believe in. For Utopia U, the goal isn't just to build your resume, it's to build your soul. So, we've got these two very different ideas fighting it out. But how does this clash actually look in the real world, on an actual university campus? Because this isn't just some abstract philosophical debate. It has very real, tangible consequences. Well, for starters, let's just look at the teaching staff. This battle between Utility U and Utopia U has fundamentally changed who teaches our students and how they do it. Okay, check this out. A few decades ago, only about a quarter of the professors at America's nonprofit colleges were adjuncts. These are the non-tenured faculty, often working on short-term contracts with very little job security. Just 25%. Today, that number has completely flipped on its head. A staggering 75% of faculty are now adjuncts. And why? Well, from a Utility U point of view, it's all about the value proposition. Cutting costs is a huge priority, and adjuncts are just way less expensive than tenured professors. And this conflict hits the students hard, too. The source we're looking at uses this great caricature to explain it. Just picture two students on the same campus lawn. One is a performance studies major, totally living in the world of Utopia U, thinking about identity, social justice, activism. The other is an engineering major, living and breathing the Utility U world of textbooks, problem sets, and landing a good job. They might walk past each other every single day, but it's like they go to two completely different universities. But of course, reality is always a bit more complicated than that, right? The truth is, you'll almost never find a campus that is purely one or the other. Instead, these two visions are just constantly crashing into each other. Appiah calls what happens next interference patterns. Most students have a foot in both worlds. They want to explore who they are, but they're also super worried about getting a job. And universities themselves try to be everything to everyone. And that's where you get all this tension and confusion. Like when the utopian ideal of a safe space clashes with the utility model of the student as a demanding customer. And this gets to a really crucial point. Maybe both of these models are missing something important. I mean, what about the old idea of just pursuing knowledge for its own sake?
or the university's role in creating public goods, like a literate society or, citizens who can actually participate thoughtfully in a democracy. Those things don't really fit neatly into either the utility or the utopia box. Which brings us right back to where we started. That demon in the classroom, and that nagging question of why anyone should study something that seems so, impractical. So here's the answer. The point of wrestling with Descartes isn't to walk away actually believing that an evil demon is tricking you. The point is to learn the intellectual discipline of doubt. It's about training your mind to second-guess what you just assume is true, to question your own certainties, and that is a skill, a truly powerful one that goes way beyond both utility and Utopia U. And this gets us to the ultimate point here. Maybe this whole debate is just based on a false choice. As Appiah so perfectly puts it, what you can do, the qualities of your skills, and who you can be, the qualities of your soul, they aren't two separate projects. In college, and really in life, they're deeply, fundamentally intertwined. And that leaves us with one last really powerful question to think about. The skills you learn by questioning, by doubting, they aren't just good for you. They are absolutely essential for our society. After all, who would want to live in a nation of people who never second-guess, who never doubt, who never question what they're told is true? And maybe that, right there, is the ultimate point of it all.